card actually to use my time efficiently to go for the CTA exam. Currently, I'm working at the Dow Efforts, the coffee company, famous in Europe, not so much famous in other regions, might be in the US. If you are there, it's called JD Pitts. Lot of copy kind of a kiosk. So I work as an enterprise architect for commercial IT business. So it's a sales, marketing, and the e-com functions and service function as well. So predominantly, it's not fully Salesforce, but because many people ask the question of what is after CTA, because you know everything about a Salesforce. So of course, you need to go a little bit more, right? So if you ask me, I think it's my 30 to 40% portfolio of Salesforce, but rest comes it. It could be Microsoft Azure, or it could be any different technology in this particular domain, not necessarily the Salesforce product in the e-com or some other domains. But that's fine. But that's where the next aspiration starts, right? Okay, once you finish with the CTA, okay, how we can actually leverage the CTA knowledge into the different technology, because they are more or less same, to be honest. And even in a Salesforce ecosystem, you after CTA, either you can be a top-notch architect, that's fine at enterprise level, or you can be a practice lead, right? If you want to grow into that particular area, so you need to widen your portfolio a bit actually at enterprise level. So I like the enterprise architecture stuff rather than people management, to be honest, okay, or the project management. So that's what I choose this path to go. Yeah, but nice to see you folks. Actually, it's quite interesting group of people actually, and always I've taken CTA as the one of the way to grill yourself how to learn and gain the knowledge in a short period of time. And if you do that one, you can use it also for any other thing like exercise or whatever you want to take in your life, right? Actually, or any other certs or MBA program, for example, because you already grill with that one. So you can use that same methodology at other different places. So that's the beauty of the CTI. Like Salesforce is just a stopover, but there are many things to go after CTA, to be honest. That's from me.
Thank you. All right.
Vinjay, what is your association now with Flow Republic?
So I coach now in a Flow Republic because I was before in a consultancy company in Accenture, but I was actually leading the CT Academy within Europe. And I left Accenture because I want to do the enterprise architecture a little bit more at a high level, more than a Salesforce. Otherwise, I will stuck in a Salesforce. So I left that one. So because when you're in a consultancy, technically you can't join the Flow Republic or some kind of stuff because you are competing, right? Actually, the competition laws. So now I'm kind of a free bird. Actually, I can do whatever I want to do. So I'm fine with the coaching, and also I like coaching personally because you are not only coaching to other people, but you are also learning the same process, and that's very interesting part of it. So that's what I am here actually to Flow Republic as a coach.
Great. And welcome on board, Vinay.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, definitely, glad to have you here.
Yeah. So can we start now? We are almost at the 6 minutes over
Yes,
the top of the hour.
I think we can. People can join in later.
I start recording. Well, 1 second, Amit, sorry.
No worries.
Okay. Vinay, how do we do this?
Yeah. So let me share my screen because today's topic is about the CPQ and FLS, right? A field service, basically. So I have just open question to everyone. How many already work on a CPQ implementation so far?
I am a CPQ certified one, but FSL I have very limited experience,
Okay.
but not very extensive. But CPQ, I think I can
Okay.
manage.
Anybody else?
I have experience with Aptus
Hmm.
CPQ. Yeah, and have working experience on the FSL side though.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just see CPQ experience, no FSL.
Okay. And those who do not have any experience in a CPQ and FLS, you are a good CTA candidate, to be honest, for the exam. I will tell you why actually. Because the more you know about the any CPQ or field service products, right? Okay, you get affinity for solutioning into going to those particular products, and then you go on showing exhibiting your star knowledge into that technology, and it might be a trap because sometimes what happened in a city board, the judges may not be CPQ or field service experts, right? So it's kind of a you are proving that you are superior sometimes, but they might not able to get that one, right? So the good point for CPQ and field service is that start from a neutral, start from a zero, to be honest, rather than taking your project experience and then just hammer that particular product uh, into the scenario. Because what normally will happen that the particular scenario will come. It is not designed across CPQ or field service. What normally will happen, it will take a kind of a piece of that particular CPQ or a field service and testing your knowledge, how your reasoning behind you want to go for a CPQ or field service liking or not, right? So those people who does not have any knowledge about anything about this one are the best suited. But also good to have a knowledge because you know what is there and what is not. So I'm just going to share my screen and just have a few questions because I think say ask actually for some exercises to be done. So I just want to check if those exercises have been done or not. So let me share my screen. Do you have access? Yeah. Yeah. Let me know if you're able to see the screen. And yeah, should be.
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
You can
Yeah.
see.
So there are two documents. One is the reverse business case. We'll do that one today. And there was actually a document for student output. So I'm not sure anybody work on a student output so far, or do you have their personal copy or something?
I have a
Yeah,
personal copy.
Okay. So shall we start from there because I can contribute more, but it's more important for me to get the things from you a lot. So if
I
anybody
have.
having, yeah.
I mean, I have some draft of it,
Mm,
not a fully completed version though. I was
mm,
trying to kind of create a use case
mhm.
and some requirements around that though.
Okay, maybe you can share in a few minutes. Few of the
Yeah.
other questions. Anybody gone through the documentation which Seb shared in that this particular documentation? Because there are three documentation. Anybody gone through this one?
I did for the CPQ.
Okay, and this one, the very quick one, the self
Yeah.
scan.
Yeah, this one, yes.
Okay, okay, because that's easy, right? Everything condenses into that one. Makes sense. Anybody came across this website, Audit 9?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and the data model of that one, the one pager. I will share the link. Don't worry about.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody come across this one? Field service data model
So
in
this
whole.
is CPQ. This is CPQ data model. Yes, I think it's the same. Even you just shared it before.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, and anybody come across this presentation? Uh, Ashley Allen from IT Equality Salesforce Consulting. I will share the link because I want to show something very good thing about this particular presentation. It's very nice. So let's set up the aim for us. Okay, that in next whatever actually 1 hour 45 minutes we want to get acquainted with the CPQ and FLS. What is the minimum thing that we require for the CTA review board exam, and what are the things that you need to think from a CTA point of view for the CPQ and field service point of view. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start actually. So let's go with the data model. The reason for the data model is that because data model is the true mirror of the any Salesforce product. So I'm going from technical to the functional, okay, for today, just for sake of it. And if I see this particular, okay, I hope the visibility is okay on this one, or should I make it a little bit bigger? Let me know.
Slightly
Or if
bigger
you
be good
could,
for me.
or
Yeah.
if you could Paste this link here. Maybe we can kind of elaborate and see this parallel as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's for the CPQ. Field service. Yeah, yeah, have it open? Okay. Okay. I think for every product, right, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, there are 5 or 6 key things, okay, in terms of a capability that you need to understand. And one of the thing actually from CPQ point of view, let's start with that one. I do not have a dedicated take, but let's go in a random order. So first is the product management. What is mean by the product management? Because when you use the CPQ, there's one of the important thing is about the products, right, and how the products are bundled together, for an example. So that's where actually the actual product object, okay, which is I think somewhere over above, is connected. See product. This one is connected to the this part of the world, okay, over this one, which is nothing but how to create a complex bundle out of products. And that's where the product, and if you see the anything with the SBQQ, it starts with the CPQ objects. So it means with this kind of a whole set of objects, you can create a product bundles. Then there are some objects like a configuration rule or product rule. It means this is the product you can couple with another product, but you can't couple the other product. For an example, if you are buying a car, and depending upon particular types of a car, there are certain products like a air condition or seat heatings can be applicable to a certain car itself. So in that case, the configuration rule and product rule helps actually to not to attach seat heating to the particular car model because it's not compatible with that particular car. I'm just giving an example. There can be multiple examples. So in your city scenario, there might be a scenario where you require kind of a lightweight product bundle thing. And just keep that little bit in a park state that you require some kind of a product option or product modeling around that one. Technically, you can do with that one with a product object and might be additional custom object product option without having boiling the whole CPQ sits around that one, and you can play around that one. And with a just additional one custom object instead of buying a whole CPQ, you can still deal with that one. What are the other side effects of that one? Because if you see the whole CPQ stuff or the whole order and opportunity management, it uses standard product, standard pricing. But if you come up with some kind of a custom object next to the standard product object, it means your whole screen for the opportunity codes, what's potentially need to be custom one, lightning one, because or behind the scene, somebody's doing the calculation to add those particular optional products behind the scene to that particular opportunity line or quote line. So potentially the custom lightning solution in terms of the front end that is that you require, right? So something that you need to think about. So if you see this whole CPQ, this first part is about products. I'm not saying you need to buy hard this one, but just keep I would say keeping in mind that if suppose one of the only product related requirement comes in, you might use one of the custom object out of this one to fulfill your requirement and you will not require a whole complete CPQ. That's the point I'm leading to. There is a nice documentation also in the CPQ, the self-post documentation which talks about how this whole configuration rule, product rules and been done. And you don't need to go so much in detail, to be honest, but just keep in mind one of the things that you need to take care of from a CPQ point of view is the product management. And this is the part which takes care of the product management. Any questions so far or comments?
So generally, just to summarize, this is like an inspiration for us for a real mock.
Yeah.
Just to take the essence so that we don't use the entire solution on
Yeah.
our.
You are
Okay.
right. You are right. But this is just a product management I touch. Let me go to the next one. Okay, that's the
Thank you.
pricing, right? So the pricing is very interesting one. because you might have there are multiple business scenario that comes in, right? So basically Sebastian asked to put that business scenario, right? The one of the business scenario for the previous one, to have a complex product structure, complex bundling where you require a CPQ. Okay, if you are going to fill up that documentation, I would strongly suggest to do that one individually by each one of you, and then combine all the results together so that you have a very concrete library where to use CPQ and where to use the field service lightning. But I will leave it to you guys actually how to coordinate. But I would strongly suggest to fill up this documentation based upon whatever happening in this particular session. The next one is the pricing. And again, complex pricing. What are different pricing comes in? The tier pricing. The tier pricing, for an example, for first to 10 product, the cost will be 50 euro per product. But if you go for the 1 to 20, okay, the cost will be for the product will be 45 euro because you get a discount. So it's called tier pricing. The another one, because you might already have a kind of a contracted price already agreed with that particular customer that you because it might be possible because there are also objects, okay, account, and also kind of a commercial contract, and that commercial contract from the companies that for you we will always give the solar panels or the charging station at 1,000 euro, for example. And if you have contracting pricing, okay, then you will always use a contracted pricing. But think about if your CTA review board scenario comes in where it says, okay, you just need to have contracted prices, okay, need to be considered, and then you do not have a tier pricing or any other complexity. Then you might need to think about I need to have a kind of a contracted pricing or something need to be stored somewhere which is connected to the account itself. So this is a contract, basically kind of an object, or it's a kind of standard object, the contract, but you might need to have some kind of a mechanism where the contracted prices for that particular account has been stored somewhere, right? So that's another thing. Then also comes the block pricing. I think I explained the tier pricing and some other rules. So the main point from this one, that next to the product management, the price management comes in. And these are the some objects, not necessarily you need to think about so much about the price actions and other stuffs around that one, price conditions and all that. But the main thing is that if suppose tier pricing comes in or contracted pricing comes in, then how you can deal with that with a couple of custom object to deal with the problem rather than boiling the whole complete ocean. Okay, and if you see this one, these are also object connected to the standard price book entry and price book itself, right? Because the price always stays over here, but kind of a additional nuances that comes in with the tier pricing and a contracted one get stored into this particular object. So that's the second part from a CPQ point of view. That's nothing but the pricing complexity that comes in.
Vinay, quick question here, if you
Yeah.
don't mind.
Do not use the CPQ solution, okay, in a simple language, because you can deal with that solving the problem just by using a couple of custom objects instead of whole CPQ. That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
With me, Sachin?
Yeah, I'm with you. I still have more questions though, but
Yeah.
probably
But just I think let me have an
yeah.
interactive session. So if you have more questions, just feel free to ask. Not a problem.
Sure, Vinay. Let's continue with the session. Probably I'll park my
Yeah,
questions and come back. Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. Okay. Then the another part comes in actually the quote and quote lines. These are the always standard object from the quote itself, okay, from the CPQ itself compared to the standard object of the quote that comes in a picture. But let's not go into that one because that's a quote process that remains standard. The another important part actually in the whole CPQ stuff is the template itself. Like it is also actually put into the block like quote template. You really do not need to go into this one. But if your code template, what is meant by the code template over here? Normally, you know that a code template is always in the line of quote and quote lines. But if you see over here, there are also some additional document that comes in a picture. For example, in reality, when somebody is creating a quote, any company for other company, you only don't provide only the quote and quote price, right? You provide also the additional supporting documentations and all that. And you can have a placeholder for local documentation. Next to that, also the terms and conditions, which are kind of a standard documentations and all that. So when you just curate your quote document, you also require some additional standard document or terms and conditions combined together. So the requirement over here is that do I need to provide just a simple code document, or I really do have a complex code document creation requirements where you might need to have a better header and footers and nice things need to be done, because if you see the standard Salesforce Sales Cloud code, it's quite very rudimentary and very simple, right? But if you have a requirement in the scenario, I haven't seen that one, to be honest, in any of the scenario where you require complex coding templates and documents around that one, then you need to think about this one. Frankly speaking, in my whole journey, I didn't use all this kind of object and even not in a custom to support any code journey, to be honest. But just keep in mind what I'm trying to explain, especially for this part, that if you have such kind of a complex journey for the code, then you should go for a CPQ. But you can deal with a custom object, but it might be very difficult to manage because this is not something core of the Salesforce, right? I'm talking about the Sales Cloud. But in the CPQ, it is quite heavily invested on this particular topic, the way you want to create your document itself. So mostly in that case, I think even you create a custom objects will not solve the problem for this one compared to the product and price. You might need to go for a CPQ solution because this is very difficult to explain in the first place, because this is all about the documentation, right? Okay, so it's going to be very difficult. But I haven't seen any scenario, to be honest, where the heavy requirement on the code templates and everything that comes in for which you need to use the CPQ. So don't worry so much about that one, and don't keep a pressure on your brain that okay, if any code template stuff complex comes in and CPQ, most unlikely that you will hit it into the review board. Yeah. So that's the third important part, the code. The rest of the stuff I think remain standard, but account, opportunity, product, price, book entry, contract, and assets, and all that. There is also something called discount and discount tier. And if you see this particular arrow, the discount schedule is also connected to the account. So think about a scenario where a particular account might get a discount because they are buying a lot in the last quarter, for an example. I'm just giving up an example. And if suppose such kind of a scenario comes in, then you know that you can deal with the discount schedule kind of a custom object potentially to solve the scenario rather than whole CPQ solution. There is another stuff that came in, okay, the subscription stuff, which is it's just shown in a one single object, but there are actually multiple different objects behind the scenes for a subscription. I don't foresee that any other scenario will go up to that subscription level because it's a little bit of more bigger data model, right? I would say about the subscription, but in a CPQ, there is also add-on licenses for the subscription that comes in, something that you need to think about. Uh, and you can only use a subscription if we have a CPQ. I hope everybody knows that, right? So yeah, you can't just use a subscription because I am a D2C brand and I need to use a subscription. No, you can't use it actually right now. You have to have the CPQ solution. Might be just check in a recent documentation because they are also evolving and they are coming up with the API based subscription in Salesforce. And do you really require a CPQ or not? But on a CPQ, there is always a subscription. You can't go with subscription directly without CPQ. That was my understanding. But check the one of the documentation of the subscription where currently Salesforce roll out API based subscription, and do we really require a CPQ, or it also works for a D2C without having the whole code and the whole opportunity saga behind the scene? Please check that one. Okay. The another important thing which is not mentioned on this particular one. Okay, let me go to the CPQ. I think this is one of the easiest way. The way I see is find out what is there in a CPQ. It's their marketing. Right, okay. Oh, no, I don't need this to run all that. Just need a product. Does it go into the cells? That's oh, revenue cloud. Yeah, I hope this is the right page. No, I don't think so.
What are you
What
looking for?
I'm looking for a capability stuff because it's one of the capability which is not mentioned over here. So let me go back. Actually, it's not having over here, which is nothing but advanced approvals. Okay, I'm not sure you heard about that one. For example, if suppose one of the court required approval from your manager, and might be you require approval from more than one approvals, for example, right? And that's where the advance approval comes in. So might be I think I can search on advance approval. That's all. And it was a part of a CPQ, but I'm not sure they actually created a standalone product out of that one. I do not know, but this is the
Yeah,
advance approval.
it's part of CPQ plus.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
putting a link in the chat, Vinay. If
yeah.
that
Yeah, so that's where the advance approval comes in. Okay, but let me tell you actually what is that advance approval. So advance approval means if suppose you have a code which required approval from four people, for example, it can send that particular notification to the four people, and out of that, for example, three people rejected and or people approved, and one guy just reject that one. Somebody changing that one, and once it goes for again for approval, there are actually a lot of configuration where you can say that out of four people who already approved, we do not need to send that back, but only change the code for the one who rejected, for example. Just a use case I'm giving. So that's where the advance approval comes in. So just have a look at it also, this particular documentation, what is there in the each CPQ version or not, because I think this is the one actually the subscription that CPQ and billing plus and billing growth that comes in picture, but that's where the advance approval comes in. To be honest, advance approval can be used in any context, not necessarily also in a court. It can be also in orders and anything, right? And it could have been easy for a Salesforce to create an independent product rather than just stuck into the CPQ stuff. But that might be the very interesting. But also look at this particular feature, right? Okay, this is quite interesting one. You can look at it. Product bundles, complex product bundles that we talked about, the pricing and quotes and pricings we talked about, and the whole product catalog. The guided selling, there is no data model behind the scene, but it's all about which product you want to have a suggestion for it, right? The product configurator, same related to the whole advanced product management. Quote line editor, that's the one of the I think that's the only important part in a CPQ, the quote line editor, because it's doing a quite heavy work and it's completely, I think, still is a visual force, if I'm not wrong. I'm not sure they recently moved to the lighting for that one, but this is the only one important from the CPQ point of view. The multi-dimensional coatings we talked about, the proposal document generations, that's the one. Channel partner quoting in the context of how to make sure that quote is also getting into the partner, that's nothing but a partner community, the Apex and stuff. Uh, this most of the stuff's okay. I think the contracted pricing, automated renewals, contract amendments, I think everything goes into the high level boxes, but you don't need to so much worry about that one. It should be fine. This is just about order management, right? It's a little bit more into that. It's a little bit a complex area, but you don't need to go for it. So I think this main thing is that just a high level, keep these capabilities are there within the CPQ. Just go to the high level of the documentation. You will come to know a little bit more on that. Okay, so that's very important. And I'm not saying by heart the data model. Keep your backup ready in terms of any requirement comes for which you do not require a whole CPQ data object, but you might use a couple of object as a custom object solution, and you can still work out as the your CPQ solution. Okay, so that's the one-liner statement I want to do as summary rather than just talking about everything on that one. But let's have a quick discussions on any open questions that you have. Okay, let's talk about that one.
Yeah, one thing that comes to my mind,
Mhm.
um, maybe it's a stupid one, but you may create a custom model for your CPQ configurations. You may end up having a large data volume for these configurations, right? And then you're gonna have to also mitigate that in your Lightning Web Component, since you're gonna have to do like your custom way of for sales rep for configuring this quotes at the end. So I just wonder, is there a way they can challenge you, going a custom way rather than selecting a CPQ, because CPQ has already covered these things more or less in terms of building the Lightning Web Component in terms of performance, in terms of many things, right? So I just wonder, is it not a black hole sometimes, or is it not suboptimal? What do you think?
It's very simple. Okay, I think
Mhm.
one of the important thing is that, okay, it's not about technology, it's about how you explain the solution. Okay, that's very important stuff. You cannot ever win the argument about a custom CPQ solution, okay, in the review board or anywhere else, okay, in a real project life, right? So I would suggest do not go with that particular route itself, okay. There are two ways to solve any CPQ related problem in this review board. First, if you see that your requirement are touching to the multiple touch points like a complex filing, complex products, a complex quoting process, complex documentation, then you can close your eyes and you can defend on the CPQ solution. Okay. But if you do not have it, okay, then the custom solution that we talk about, couple of objects here and there, it's fine. Okay, not a problem. But don't go ever for full blown custom CPQ solution. uh, in reality, in a project life, sometimes it will work because you can also work with the data volumes and all that, and the customer doesn't want to pay for the whole CPQ solution. Okay, in reality is fine. But this exam is all about how to use a SaaS platform in an optimum way, and that completely go off against the city review board, right? To use any full-blown custom solution. And if you ask me why it's CPQ, you might say, why I need a sales cloud, a service cloud. I can also do with the platform licenses. Technically, you can actually tell me that one, right? But that's not the purpose of the exam. The main thing for the exam for you guys, it's not about the technical solution, how you convey a solution to the other people in a simple way, and if people get accord in their brain that, okay, this guy is making whatever he's saying is making sense, and this is the optimum solution for that one. So always try to go for optimum solution. The one that you mentioned, I don't think so you can able to defend very strongly in the exam. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other comment or question?
So, for example, if we were to talk about tiered pricing, right? If a customer buys a particular product, let's say 100 quantity, right? Up to 10 quantity, I would want a certain price, and then beyond that, up to a certain range, I want a different pricing. Then probably we should go for CPQ solution using block pricing, right? Not a custom solution for that.
Yeah, but here it goes. Just for one requirement, are you going for a CPQ or not? That's the main important question. Because in the whole city review board scenario, if you just have one requirement for a block pricing, ideally you should not go for the CPQ solution and try to find a solution possibly somewhere else on that. Okay, so if I really want to solve this problem, okay, I could have the price book connected to the block price, for example, like the one it is mentioned over here. Price book might be the custom object. So what will be my impact in terms of a solutioning? I need to have that block price as the custom object, and the second one, I need kind of a mechanism either in a front end plus also in a back end to make use of that block pricing to be used into my quote or the opportunity process, right? And I can still deal with that particular solution, right? Quite easy and easy solution. I don't have a complex product. I do not have a code complexity in a code documents and all that, anything and a discounts and all that, but I can still work out that requirement. It's still acceptable solution in the city review board. Yeah, and also this exam. Okay, just one disclaimer, guys. This exam is not about mastering the Salesforce CPQ or Revenue Cloud or the field service lightning. This exam is not about that one. This exam is all about, are you able to judge that you really require a CPQ or a field service or not required CPQ or the field service? I think that's the most important essence of the exam. It's not about knowing stuff in detail, and can you work out on the requirement in the possible way, which is the optimum solution for that one. Because just for one block price, if you bring the whole CPQ, it will be too much. Think about, forget about the licensing is not part of the city review board, but just think about you're onboarding the or configuring the whole CPQ just for one requirement, even in a real project. Second one is actually the adoption of the project itself, the change management itself. Time takes impact on the timelines to implement a particular project is going to be so much huge. The non-technical aspect of the project will go for a toss. So something to think about.
But
Yeah,
wouldn't scalability be an important criteria as well?
scalability is always there, right? So it doesn't matter which object that you are using in a Salesforce. Are we doing a proper archiving? Are we doing a proper masking? All those things are always there for any other object. Why it is special to the block price object in that case for me? Right. So basically, what I did for every bloody solution that I had for the city review board, I always had the archiving solution, even though I ask it or not, because I know there will be somewhere the LDV comes in, and I need to tackle that one. Right, close my eyes, do that one. As soon as the European soil comes in, the for the solutioning point of view, I close my eyes. Okay, I need to have a data masking solution, even they didn't ask, right? But I know that in GDPR and all those Californian Act and all that, you require the masking solution. So it goes without saying that if I see, okay, the solution need to be implemented in Germany or France, yeah, data masking that comes in. Same goes for, so scalability is, your scalability will not get screwed up just because of one object, right? You need to have that scalability across all the objects in the solution. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, I'm saying it's custom object is still fine, but if it requires complex Apex classes for you to do the pricing and all that nature, right? And then tomorrow, if you were to introduce different pricing models, you would rather start with the product than building a custom solution and then switch to this
Yeah,
specialized product down the
yeah,
line, right?
yeah. The good part of the exam itself is that the solution or the scenario that I'm asking is at that moment. Okay, it will not talk so much about what is the future stuffs and all those kind of a thing, right? Like in a project that happens, right? Okay, you start with the MVP and then you go on complexity, adding on that one. This will not have that one. So in that case, I still go with that custom object for a block pricing solutions for that one. And the main thing is that you need to stay in that particular time period and to defend that solution with a custom block pricing, right? And if you're able to do that one, it's fine, because frankly speaking, there are almost 70 or 80 different solution requirements are there, right? In the solution. This is just a one line item over that, right? And if you're able to defend, okay, I've decided, okay, to go for the custom object to represent a block price, which will make sure that I can support the tier price for this particular requirement. I thought of using a revenue cloud, but that revenue cloud will be a too big solution to be maintained and managed in the future. And that's the reason actually I went with this particular custom solution. Job done, finish it off. Okay, you have another 74 requirement to be covered up. Okay, you
Got
can't stuck with the one for longer period of time. Then understanding. Might be question comes, judges, okay, why you decided to go for the custom object and all that. That might be something for the Q&A sessions, right? Where you already know why you went for that one. That's fine, right? So it is not about, guys, technology. It's about how you defend your solution as if you're explaining to the ATR kids. That's the main motive. Yeah.
got it. Thanks.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think one of the requirement that we quickly saw, right? The partner. There is also a requirement that you are providing a codes to the partners, right? And how you are exchanging that So there are two parts, right? One is exchanging a code to the customers, direct customers like this one. I think that can be easily done from the Salesforce by using emails and connecting to that particular code stuff and documentations and all that. That's not a big issue. Uh, and the thing is that, okay, the few things that you need to consider for any scenario, irrespective of the CPQ or Revenue Cloud, how we are exchanging the code to the customers. For customers, if you notice, we do not have any mechanism by which you can share the code objects into the portal. I'm talking about a customer community plus. Okay, the code is not there. Code is there only on a partner community itself. So when you're sharing the code to the customer, you only need to think about, are you sharing with, for example, with email, okay, or some other means. For example, the e-signatures and all those kind of the softwares, right, where you are actually sending the documentations and all those kind of things. So that's the one way of sharing to the customers. For partners, technically you can use the partner community portal to share the code because the code object is part of that, right? So that's the one of the way also to share the documents to the partner itself. So coming back to the licensing, so you clear distinction between the customer and partner. Partner is makes easy. For customer, you need to find a different approach. I I think that's more about a licensing on a partner on a quoting stuff because they also have this kind of a licensing is there, right? So if you go here, there's something called licensing for partners, channel partner quoting. Maybe something you guys need to check that one. I do not think what is this one, but technically you can share the code directly to the partner portal. That's what I know from the licensing point of view. So I don't see a big challenge on that one. The partner approves that code and then so how that business works, that's something need to be really understood. For example, what happens in that partner community code process, partner get a request from other customer that they need solar panel. Okay, partner is not selling solar panel. Okay, and partner comes to you, okay, and creating a code, okay, by using that partner community, and it that code goes for approval to the solar company. Okay, that the request is I need 15 panels for an example, okay, and then the code comes back after approval from internal. For an example, they are selling that one for $200 per panel, and there are 5 panels, so 1,000, something like that. Now the partner gets $1,000, okay, but the thing is that partner internally they are selling that solar panel with 10% or 20% margin to the end customers, right? So the process that you are handling in a partner community is that the request that partner sends to the solar panel company, what is the best rate they can get it to buy the solar panel, which they can internally sell it to the end customers, right? So that's the scenario comes in the code process.
Would partners scenario sorry Tom, in that scenario would partners still track their sale to the end customers as part of this partner management system? Is
And
that
no,
the
no, I think there are multiple options. Most of the partners they have their own system to tackle to the customers because they have their own invoicing platforms and everything around on right. Okay, or they can also connect to the Salesforce CPQ by integrations to manage everything in their own platform, but just for quoting actually use the platform given by the partner community from that solar company itself, right? Because some of the customers, because some regulations in some other areas that you should not reveal customer information to the solar company, right? For example, that could be the case. But also think about a scenario where the partner is just selling the solar panel, but maintenance of that solar panel is stick to the solar panel company. Then in that case, partner need to reveal the customer data once the purchase has been done to the solar company, so the solar company can actually plan the maintenance, for example, right? So there are two kind of scenarios are there, depending upon which business you're talking about, right? Either they really need to have one-time sale and no maintenance required, and if it is a maintenance required, then you also need to reveal the customer itself. Because, for example, there could be a situation, it happens in one of my projects, that partner might not ready to share the customer information because solar panel company is also targeting that, can also target that particular customer with a direct selling, right? Then you are creating a competition, not you, but there is a competition, right? You are selling to the customer to the direct, but also through the partners, and then that creates some kind of a problems in the organization. Okay, something to think about, not for a CTA one actually. Okay, for a project, it might be an interesting proposition. Okay, don't worry about that CTA review board. It will not go into the kind of a complexity. Don't worry about that. Yeah, so there is one additional licensing gets sold by the Salesforce, which is not mentioned actually, I think over here, but I was involved in one of the project where there is something called Revenue Cloud for a partner. There's some extra licensing that comes in, Thomas, okay, which we need to use to expose these Revenue Cloud objects into the partner community. Yeah, yeah.
Vinay, would CPQ ever be a good fit in a B2C scenario?
You tell me.
I
You
mean, like,
please justify.
I'm saying in a commerce scenario, right? Let's assume on a commerce website, if I were to purchase, let's say, uh, an Apple Watch with, and then warranty should kind of become optional, or it should kind of bundle on its own, right? In such scenarios, would we be able to use CPQ? Where, like, considering the volume of the end customers, would would they still require licensing, or would these features be accessible over an API that we can kind of integrate onto the websites?
Yes and no, actually. I can give an example actually that happened in my life, okay, where this kind of a stuff happens, but it was in a little bit a different way. I can explain that particular scenario, then you will get answer automatically. So I was planning to buy a TV, and normally the TV is a little bit a kind of expensive nowadays, okay, if you want to go for larger screens and all those kind of stuff. And I thought, okay, let's go into the website and hop on that one. And I saw at the right hand corner the chat button, and I started doing the chat and asking for a pricing and all that. And I asked first, can I get a discount, for example? Okay, it goes in a similar quoting process. Okay, just keep in mind. Okay, but behind the same, how it got handled for a G2C customer in this case, right? So it was a commerce site. I don't know which platform. And while chatting, okay, they said, okay, we can provide you the discount, blah blah blah. And they said, okay, we'll send you the link. Okay, and that link was nothing but the link of the e-commerce website, but it was a personalized link with the pre-filled discount on it. Okay, and with my name on it, and I was able to pay. Okay, into that particular scenario. So it goes similar to this one, but it was not a quoting process, right? Actually, it's a but different process that you can deal with the e-commerce stuff. But also, I see, for an example, couple of days I was looking for the installation of the charger for electric car, and I was having a very tough to get actually deal on that one because the buying the stuff was difficult, but getting somebody to get install was very difficult for me. So I was looking for offer that how I can get that one, and everything was in offer way. Uh, for B2C proposition using a CPQ from a pricing point of view, it will be so much costly if you see the licensing into the consideration. Okay, just a simple answer to that. But for D2C, volume is very high. Okay, and possibly, but I don't think so. The CPQ is the right solution for a D2C, solving a D2C problem, to be honest. That's what I want to conclude on that one. You might have a different technology and something that comes in, but it's not meant to be that for that one. But if you are buying a big printers, if you are buying a big machines and all that, then CPQ does really make sense on that one. And also for one of the project I was working, we didn't go for a Salesforce CPQ because it was one of the big brand for which they need to have a visual CPQ. I'm not sure you guys know visual CPQ. Anybody try to buy Mercedes on their eShop? Okay, if you go for that one for configurator, they require visualizations, a huge visualization, which is the thing how the exterior and everything colors and everything look like, which is also CPQ in its own, but in a visual manner. But intended for a D2C. Okay, but there are completely different CPQ product sets available in the market compared to what you are looking at from Salesforce Revenue Cloud. So Salesforce Revenue Cloud, to be short, is intended mainly for the machine stuff or those kind of things, the big one actually, where you have a pricing is very high for a products, okay, because also you need to think about a licensing stuff and all that. And that's it's where actually it's the value of that one, complex code process and complex pricing, complex products. Yeah. So don't go for a D2C for this one, okay. I don't think so. That is also coming up into the CTA review board. I don't expect.
So in
Yeah,
this ad space scenario, right, if there was a self-served ads, right, if customers were to pick and choose their own assets, like where they want to advertise and then build their own cart and checkout,
that's called e-commerce.
then that wouldn't be an apt scenario to use CPQ here.
No, but that's e-commerce, right? That the things that you're talking about, the what where people select the products and all that. That's a typical e-commerce.
Okay.
I think maybe what Sachin is referring is to this part on the presentation where it says customer self-service. I don't know, Vina, if you see that a little row on that presentation on the left. So it also was intriguing me. I looked up in the documentation, what do they mean by customer self-service on the CPQ? And I think I'm just speculating now that this is for CC plus users.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is not really for B2C. It's rather, I would say, for B2B use cases, not for a huge, large volume, because the pricing would just get crazy.
Yeah.
And that's it. They can configure, right? They will get,
Yeah.
but it says also they will not have access to opportunity, so that your quote, CPQ quote must be standalone. So that means there will be quote without opportunity, and it will have line items.
Yeah, you are right. This is about sharing the code for customers so that they can approve and whatever actually. So this is the one of the this additional pay. But
Yeah.
just one part actually. I want to go through this stuff actually. This is quite interesting one, and the couple of slide I want to show. I was actually about to get the to say presentation of this one. I really did not get time for that one, but there are a couple of slides which I want to show. Yeah, these are from the business point of view. Okay, just a 30 minutes video. Have a look at it later on, but I just want to quickly go through this one. So ideal for us revenue cloud. Okay, and the volume of the codes. Okay, and the team managing actually it's very high. Then you require higher level of productivity. That's where the you are going to use the revenue cloud. Then also we have a complex bundling actually, supporting huge amount of product and you want to select the right products. That's where the guided selling comes in. That is the one of also the attributes of the revenue cloud. Then templates, because if you have more templates, additional informations and all those kind of stuffs which I talked about, that's where the template comes in. That's where the revenue cloud is the key. And future proof and growing in future. Okay, I think that's where the whole CPQ comes in the picture. There is one more slide on this one. Again, it's the same. Yeah. So what volume of the quotes? The same stuff actually. I think product selections. Okay, you really have a 10 products. Okay, I think it's mentioned about could go in either way, either CPQ or the sales cloud itself. And there are a few interesting stuff mentioned on this one. Okay, this is a very good presentation which I use as my bible, to be honest, actually, to defend or not to defend the CPQ, mostly not to defend the CPQ, to be honest. But this also, I think, did I put a link or no? No. Let me share this one with you. And I really like this video. It's
Hello,
very
today we're
straightforward actually. I think this is the one which I mentioned, right? Actually, this is the tier pricing. Then we have that discount that you offer, a bit complex or not. And also it mention about do you require reps to submit a quote or manager approval? That's the advance approval management process, right? That we talked about. So that's another one. So I personally like this lot, to be honest. Okay, this particular deck. So have a look at it over there. It is not the good part of this particular YouTube video. It is not intended for a CTA review board. It was really intended for explaining the Revenue Cloud versus Sales Cloud, and that's what you need. You don't need a CTA flavor to that one. Okay, you need a real ground level flavor, and this particular deck or 30 minutes presentation really make your brain very clear where you want to go, left or right, for example. And also provide a justification. The one of the important part is that when you in a review board, the people are actually waiting for justifications why you choose for the CPQ versus the standard sales cloud. So just make sure that okay, you have justification ready in your brain. So I also did the same one. What I did, I provided 3, 4 justification in my brain ready. If a particular scenario is smelling like a little bit of CPQ, but of course not a CPQ because just a one ad hoc requirement over here and there, then what are the scripts I need to speak to make sure that okay, I'm not defending CPQ or revenue cloud, right? So make your poem or make your quotes mean the lines actually ready in your brain that why you are not going to use the CPQ, okay, or though you are going to use the CPQ either way. Yeah, so that's very important. Just have a look at this particular video, 30 minutes. I trust you, it will make your complete understanding regarding the whole CPQ stuff. Yeah.
Vinay, just a question. When I was going through the ad space scenario, I was trying to date an ERP. If you have an external ERP for your to handle all your payments, would you need Salesforce billing? When do you need billing with CPQ?
The Salesforce billing, the way I say it, okay, Salesforce billing is nothing but the subscription product, right, from Salesforce. Okay, so
Okay.
that's the relationship. So if you need any subscriptions on top of this one, uh, on top of CPQ, then you use the billing, the payment
Okay.
part, especially the ERP part, the financial management, the bookkeeping, and all that. The Salesforce can't do that, right? So it has to be remain in ERP. So in ERP, if you see the current scenario or the way the whole world is going, the two capabilities are paramount. The one is the whole financial management, that is for bookkeeping and making sure that P&L get booked, profit and loss get booked into the books, because we have a ledgers for each country, how much each country is actually making a revenue and how much is company selling and profits and all that. So you require really the ERP to take care of that one. In a Salesforce, we do not have any kind of a product which can take care of that one. The second one is the supply chain management in the ERP. Nowadays, is also getting a little bit more fancy, but that's a different story. But that's another area where Salesforce is not there. Order management is there. Okay, that's a different one, but I think that's another topic to discuss. Okay, let's not go over there. But to answer your question, Barry, ERP is ledger books and all those. The billing is for subscription, which is a top-up license on the CPQ.
So in other words, if I have an ERP, that would take care of everything I would need from billing, really. If I didn't have an ERP, you probably would need billing then. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, you are right. But when I say don't get into the wording of the billing, okay, the billing is the subscription over here. But when you say the payment transaction, it's called financial management. Is that I think that's the right word for the ERP stuff. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other question or comment on the CPQ before we go with the field service lighting?
No, all good.
Yeah. So just to conclude on the CPQ, okay, please, I'm not saying that, okay, you need to go each and every documentation. What I used to do, I can tell you actually something that you can do that one. Go to the CPQ documentation. Okay, you don't need to read everything. Pick the things for your eyes that something might be interesting for you, because I really had the self documentation, because if I start with the first one, right, it talks about where to click and all those kind of a thing. And the city review board is not about click left, click right and do that one, but it's all about, do we need to click this software or not, actually, whatever, to make that work for a business capability, right? So this is not going to be really helpful. So I would say just go through that video. That's very important. If you get any, for example, Revenue Cloud capabilities, this is a nice one, right? I think this is very interesting one. I think just make sure that you are aware of all those kind of stuff, right? Very important, because there is also Service Cloud integration for connecting to the service contracts behind the scene. Bit more into the detail, but just go through that one. These are the capabilities that we're talking about actually, and I don't think so you need to go a little bit more deep into that unified sales and finance process. Leave that one. I think the core stands over here. I think the first part itself, I think not even the second part actually, but the first part itself, I think that's most important around that one. Something that you need to keep in mind. And these are the capabilities that we should be trying to work around the whole civic solution. That's very important. Okay. So that's on CPQ. Let's go to the field service lighting. Anybody implemented a field service lighting project? Okay, I forgot that one. Complete end to end. No one? Neither I, to be honest. Okay, because it's a project itself on its own, which might take at least 1 year to 2 years to complete a project if you want to roll out for all the countries and all that. Actually, and it's one of the complex product actually, because if I see the data model of the CPQ, okay, it's quite understandable, but the field service, I think it's still understandable, provided that you know the obtain the work and work orders, and then it's kind of this particular product is combination of one of the other product which is called, anybody having idea? This product is combination of and one more product actually. I'm not sure you heard about that particular product, which is called Lightning Scheduler.
Salesforce, yeah, scheduler.
Lightning Scheduler. So the few of the objects are also copied from the not copied or used across actually in the Lightning Scheduler. So that's where the comes in picture. To be honest, I'm not so much expert about the field service lighting, but what I can explain is the business point of view, and I'm not able to explain each and every object stuff, but a few of the objects are also part of the service cloud. So let's look at it on this one. So let's think about because I would rather spend actually half an hour on a field service lighting, and then I want to cover the kind of a scenario, right, that Sebastian provided, I think, in this documentation. And let's go line by line and think about it actually. What are the possible solutions and all these things? Okay, the reverse business case. So on a field service, okay, I think the main purpose of field service, everybody knows that somebody bought the solar panel, very hard work, sold that one. Okay, but for that solar panel also required a regular maintenance for something. Consider that you require not require so much solar panel and unless you clean it yourself. But anyway, so that's where the whole field service lighting comes in a picture, right? And I think the one of the prominent object that in Service Cloud that we are using is a work order and the work order line item itself, right? So it detects actually what work need to be conducted, and that's where the Service Cloud gets stopped, and then the field service lighting that comes in a picture. So I will just try to explain high level utilization of the object itself, because this is quite interesting part. Okay, the maintenance plan and the maintenance asset. So before going into that, okay, so you know the work and work order. Then that another one is the work type. So type of a work. Okay, is it required installation, or is it required a repair, for an example, or it is required a maintenance, for an example. So that's where the work type comes in the picture. And also there is something called maintenance assets. So this is nothing but the junction object between the assets. These should be connected somewhere actually. Yeah, it's there in assets and a maintenance plan. For an example, think about one of the assets, solar panel. One should purchase it, and if somebody's also purchased maintenance plan, and that particular maintenance need to be done on a quarterly basis. And somewhere you need to store that information, right? And that's where the maintenance plan are nothing but a quarterly or twice a year or a yearly maintenance plan, and then you connect to the maintenance asset object that this particular asset need to be, for example, to be taken up for service. Okay, and that point of a time, okay, that's very interesting. You need to generate work order line item, so that someone can go in a field and do the job. right? That's where the stuff that comes in. How many of you saw the universal property scenario? There was something called
Yes.
maintenance stuff actually. Okay, and that's where the maintenance plan of the maintenance of the house or something that comes in picture. I guess that's scenario. I'm just trying to think hard on that one. And technically, you do not require a complete field service lighting in that scenario. But anyway, but the maintenance plan was there actually into that one, and that's where actually you can technically create a custom object like a maintenance plan, and you can still attach to that one. And might be easy solution, run a batch process in the night, think about, okay, which is the next maintenance that coming up, and accordingly create a work and work order. Okay, I'm also giving a solution now actually, which is wrong, but anyway, this is the another way if you don't want to use the full service lighting, but still you have maintenance plan in your city, reviewable scenario, and still you need to work it out, okay, because at the end, you need to run a batch process to make sure that which work on a work order on which the resources need to be worked upon, right? And that's where the things comes in. So that's on this part. The maintenance one is always connected to the asset part. I think this part is already there as part of the skill-based routing within a Salesforce. That's a part of it. So the digital engagement plus the standard service cloud, the skill requirement, the skills, all those kind of stuff. And this is, I think, the new part over here is the service crew, not so much use, so don't need to think about that one. But I think let me connect to that one also with the service territory. So this particular work order this require a particular skills, for example, and you actually get a service resource which is also connected to the user object behind the scene. Basically, that this particular person is best person to work on that particular stuff, right? So that's where the things comes in the picture. And then you have resource capacities and all those kind of a thing, absence and all those kind of stuff. I'm just touching base. I'm not going to go so much detail because in a real world, I don't think you require so much kind of a things for a city review. Another important part is the service territory, right? That's kind of a very interesting proposition in a field service because there might be a people working only for London area compared to the reading area in the UK, for example, right? So you define a service territory. In that service territory, you actually define the service resource, which are nothing but a field service agents, and those are working to only those particular territories. So when the assignment need to be happen, it will choose the guides, okay, based upon where that service need to be done, based upon the service territory belong to the London area or not. Okay, so that's where the service territory comes in the picture. Just keep in mind, I don't think so we require so much hard actually into the review board scenario, but just keep in your brain, that's all. Then another important part is nothing but a service appointment, which talks about where and when to execute that particular service appointment, right? And that is also kind of a connected to the whole service territory and the service resource itself, because those particular appointment get fulfilled by the service resource itself. The one of the okay, let's revisit CPQ. In a CPQ, the two things dominant, right? One is the data model, and the second one is your code line editor, which is kind of a one of the North Star kind of a screen, okay, within the CPQ field service. And if you ask me in a field service, okay, what is that one? Data model is the first one, but the second biggest thing actually that comes in the field service lighting is where your planning happens, right? And let me go through this one.
Dispatcher
So
console.
yeah, you are right. Dispatcher console. Is there any picture on a dispatcher console somewhere? Yeah, this is the kind of a dispatcher console comes in, right? Yeah. And I think this is kind of a Gantt chart and everything actually shows. So basically, just go into these four types of a licenses that comes in. The dispatchers, the field service technicians, the service agents, and the service manager. Service manager are looking after everything, so just need that one. But I think the most important part is the field technicians, which goes right, and those are nothing but the services behind the scene. And they also have a mobile service app that comes in from a Salesforce, right? So that's very important. And with that particular screen that you just saw, the Gantt chart and all that, so all those guys actually on which day, at what time, they are going to repair at which client, it's everything mentioned on that one, right? And if they suppose that somebody is calling and saying, okay, I'm not available and all that, they should able to reroute that particular field technicians to the other one. The proper route planning and everything has been done. All those things that will taken care by that particular mobile app. But also you have that guy, the dispatchers who are actually able to control actually when is the best person to have that particular best job to be done, right? So those kind of a dispatcher comes in picture. And a service agent, it's somebody calling, okay, you repaired, but still something is not working. Okay, it's kind of ad hoc repairs, for example, required. They can create a work order, which also impacts your whole schedule for the field technicians, right, behind the scene.
And
So that is also
customization
comes
center.
in the picture. So this is very condensed documentation that Sebastian shared, which is actually on a Salesforce web, which talks about kind of a light version of the whole field service cycle. I would strongly suggest, okay, to read this particular documentation. When I did my cert, this documentation was not there, but but you guys are lucky. So you have that particular documentation. You don't need to go to the complete documentation of the Salesforce. So that's a good one. So I think this is the very important part, right? In some city review board point of view, what are the use cases? One is actually the repairs, which I just touched base upon, ad hoc repairs. The maintenance schedule itself, like a solar panel, which I mentioned. The cells, and I'm also reading that one. What's that one? That visit prospect and customer sites, those who need to coordinate multiple single visits and field service can sync easily with opportunity. I will not go so much into that part actually, to be honest, because for Salesforce, there is also one more product for the sell folks to go in a particular geographies and all those kind of stuff that's there. Yeah, I think this is just enough. I think these are the two most important ones, to be honest, from a free service point of view, something that you need to consider. Um, I we do not have any other video like the one that you have for CPQ for the field service stuff. But I think from field service point of view, I think one of the important message I want to give it to you actually when to use the whole field service. So the maintenance plan, which I talked about, that's kind of a die-hard requirement, right? Okay, that's might appear in few of the scenario because where you have the product that is being sold, but which is also you sold some kind of additional services, okay, for the maintenance and how you are going to take care of that maintenance. Technically, you can deal with that on custom object, which I just explained to you guys, right? Okay, so that won't be a big problem. Rest of the stuff like skills and all that, if you really want to use the skill-based routings and all that, you can technically take care of that one as part of the service cloud license. Work order already they're part of a service cloud license, so you should be okay to be used in your city review board around that one. I don't see a big challenge around that one. I personally don't foresee that you might get a scenario where you are able to get a service territory and all the service locations and particular service appointment, because technically the service appointment can be also treated as a work order if you see over here. So I don't think so that we require that one. Main point to get acquainted with the full service lighting data model to ensure that at least you know if those particular requirements are resembling to this particular data model object like service territory and all that, where you might come up with the innovation to have a couple of custom objects to fill that requirement, unless somebody saying that I want this. Where is that nice picture? The Gantt chart and all those kind of thing, like a dispatcher models and all those kind of thing, right? Okay, so that's the only stuff where you require like this one. Okay, this is you can't deal with the, you can technically you can deal with the custom lighting component, but it's going to be very expensive, right? Right. This is the heart of the whole field service lighting. Yeah, right. And if that comes in, okay, the things need to be shown in the Gantt chart and also the every user, okay, where to go and all that need to be shown on the mobile app, then you know there's a field service lighting to be used. But if it is not there, then potentially you should not go for a field service lighting, go for a lightweight maintenance stuff around that one. Should be okay. The another thing I want to show you, because the one that I showed you actually is the data model, but also there is a nice documentation on right. No, no, let me get that one. Service. This is very kind of a condensed view of the data model, and all the objects are mentioned and there's also relationship with everything on that one, but it just highlighting the part of it. So the work order line item, I think everybody knows. Then we have the service line, service appointments, and how to connect to the whole work order. So this is the box which is kind of a standard that's mentioned, and which is the new part that comes in, right? The service appointment, the service appointments over here, and territory and work type that get connected. Then it will get a little bit more complicated. For all left-hand side part, it's completely standard one. So something that you already know, and couple that one with what you do not know, which is nothing but this part. The same data model, to be honest, but this was created, I think, long before by the Salesforce. So I was referring to this one, not the audit one, because the audit line that Mark can created recently, I think a couple of years back, but it's a little bit older one on that one. The same stuff, but it's actually, I like this documentation because it's kind of a focusing only on certain points and also marking actually which object for which one, like a workforce object, territory object, and a service appointment objects, right? And it's also mentioned about a nice philosophy of who performs the work, where the work occurs. That's where the service territory and everything comes in picture. When the work happens, that's where the time stuff that comes in over there, time slots and everything that comes in. So that's really nice one actually to depict that one. And it also goes to the inventory level, because inventory level you also have a product available at particular location itself. And the asset is also actually location might have a multiple assets and the account having a multiple assets, for example, and then how we are going to do the maintenance on that particular location itself, right? So that's also very interesting proposition over that comes in over here, something to think about it. And one more interesting thing, I'm not sure you are aware of that one, when the maintenance happens or the repair happens. Sometimes you have a service contract where everything come for free for a maintenance and where something need to be paid by the customer. And that's where the things comes in, where you specify which product you consume for that particular repair, for that particular appointment that you're doing, and it need to be charged back to the customer, right? Basically. So that's also a scenario that comes in. So something you need to think about. But just have a look at this particular data model. That will definitely help you around that one, how that whole process works. This called kind of inventory management, that which part has been used for that particular field service activity that happening over there. To be honest, it's so much complex that happen in a field service lightning. I don't expect, I haven't seen any scenario required kind of inventory management stuff that is required into the scenario itself. I would say keep in back of your mind that it's such kind of a scenario somebody painted in the city review board. You have a kind of a solution. You will not get blank, but just read this one so that you know that this kind of a problem can be solved with this kind of a solution, because what you see right now is a solution given by the Salesforce. But if suppose there is a lightweight touch of this one comes into the inventory management into your CTA scenario, you should able to think about it. Maybe I require just one or two objects of this one to solve the scenario, possibly, right? Might not everything is required, like a product transfers and all those kind of stuff, right? If suppose one of the part gets changed on that particular stuff and all that, you don't need to worry about that one. But I would strongly suggest take take a look at it. It's quite interesting one, like a maintenance plan asset which we talked about. It's quite interesting. Okay, these are the another object that comes in nuances. Maintenance work rule might not required actually in the real life, not real life, but in the city itself. And also it's having a multiple flavor, right? The field service to the campaign data models and how it get connects and all that, right? So just have a look at it. Okay, it's too much big actually, the whole field service product itself compared to the CPQ, to be honest. But it specific what are the use cases comes in, you can make out from the data model, right? The first use case is the standard field service. Second one is actually how we are going to manage the inventory for the field service I'm executing, how I'm going to do the preventing maintenance for the existing assets, the product service campaigns, and also the warranty. Because suppose the maintenance I'm doing is under the warranty, it's fine. If it is not under the warranty and if I'm replacing something, that customer need to pay and how to tackle that one, right? So something need to think about it actually from that angle. These are just scenarios. So when you're documenting the typical FLS student output and business requirements and all that, just try to put those particular requirements into this particular document. You might also share each other's document with each other, so that it's suppose something that you haven't covered, somebody might be surfacing that one, right? That might be also a good one, but just spend a little bit of amount of efforts on this one to come up with a business requirement. I think I have shown you actually almost many business requirement, right? Just put an effort actually in documenting that one. The reason for documenting that before the exam or any particular scenario presentation, you can just have a look at it. You prepare your brain, put it into your cache memory, and then you know which discipline you need to go left or right, and you will come to know what kind of a solution you need to put it. Yeah. Any questions or comments?
I think we're processing all the information now. But yeah, the bottom line, as I understood from what you said, is the essential part of the FSL is the dispatcher console, and we don't want to do it custom, right? That was one point. But otherwise, I think in most of the scenarios, at least I saw, and from what I talked to the people about, usually you wouldn't go for FSL nor CPQ solution really. So you just have to learn the principles so that you know why not to use it rather than use it, right? It's just the other way around.
And if you want to fulfill a certain requirement, how you are going to deal with that particular situation with a custom object, with a custom logic, Apex flow, blah blah, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So
correct.
yeah. So some, and also prepare your brain, okay? Because normally what happens that people use a solution, we'll create a custom object and we'll do the custom logic to do that one, but do not talk about, okay, I have considered CPQ or FLS, but I think this is kind of a overkill for this kind of a particular business requirement. Thus, I'm not going to go for a CPQ or FLS. Right? That should be a bit better wording to be done for explaining why you are not going for it. Because I think even if you come up with the right solution, but if you do not provide a justification, which is also crime to be honest. Yeah.
Vinay, probably I think it is also important to have an understanding of the related add-on licenses, right? For example, if for a requirement to track the real-time status of the technicians, right? It could mean both ways. One, on a dispatcher console to have a view on the map view, right? To see where the current technicians are. That's one way from a company aspect of it. But from a customer side of it, right? For them to really see where the technician is, what is the estimated time of arrival. So those sort of things, right? You would need appointment assistant, right? So that's an add-on license that will be required.
My simple question to you, it's very simple. It's actually contradicting to what Patrick just mentioned. If you are not going to use the CPQ and a field service lighting for this one, then your add-on solution doesn't make sense, right? On top of that one, because you are not going to use the basic products actually. Because if you are not using the CPQ and FLS, your add-on will not be there in that case, right? So you need to come up with your solution, okay, to fulfill the requirement that you're talking about in this case.
So my
Yeah.
question was in the context of using FLS,
Mhm.
but also right to have an understanding of the related add-on products as well, right? To solve
Yeah,
some of the
yeah.
requirements.
Just keep in mind what are the add-on stuff that comes in over there, and if you get kind of a data model of those particular products, just keep an inventory of that one with you. That would be my suggestion. Okay, to make sure that you can solve that particular problem as such. But I would say actually try to keep it simple actually, because there are two ways to deal with this whole city review board exam. You might have a this much knowledge. Okay, you are trying to expand this much knowledge with the add-ons and all those kind of things. Then the second slice of that one, are you able to explain this much knowledge in a precise, concise manner or not? Okay, or you want to explain this much knowledge in a precise, concise manner or not? Okay, that's another slice. Most of the people, I made that mistake and I learned from that one. At one stage, you need to define. I have gained all my self-first knowledge, self-cloud, service cloud, when to use the CPQ, FLS, and all that. Once you have done that one, start putting into the structure the way you want to explain that knowledge to somebody else. Otherwise, that knowledge stick to you, and you will not become a CTA because you are not able to explain to the CTA review board. So spend more and more time once you get acquainted more and more about the knowledge about the whole set pursuit. How I'm going to explain, how I'm going to hone my communication skills, how I'm going to put a right justification at the right place, how I'm going to do the time management, all those kind of things. People always underestimated because we came all from technology background that we know that our job is to know each and everything about products. But city review board doesn't work that one. For city review board, the whole time management and all that, the communication skill management works. The second thing that's very important is about on the fly how you can take a call to again somebody ask you a question or even in a scenario review board if you get some kind of a requirement that you never study before and put a habit to your brain that how you are going to solve that one. That's the very important stuff from a city review board exam, what I got it as. So even if I go for other meetings and if I'm not prepared for too much actually, and somebody, I need to question or I need to answer, I can answer that one actually based upon not experience, but based upon the way of thinking, design way of thinking around that. So that's very important. So I would strongly suggest every one of you, I'm not sure where you are at which part of your CTA journey, try to package your solution and market the solution in an efficient way. You need to stop, not stop, I would say, reduce the learning curve of the new products a little bit lesser. But at one point, you need to start packaging your solution because that packaging and presenting, I think that's the bread and butter for the CTA review board exam. And even that goes beyond the line after you become a CTA because I need to present to the CIO or a directors and a VP and all that. Nobody cares about how much knowledge you are. How everybody cares about that particular topic explained in a crisp manner. What is the outcome that we are anticipated to have it? That's all, nothing else. So having knowledge is fine, good, but try to packaging your solutions in a proper way so that you can explain to the other people. That's the more important thing. So that's why I'm not going so much into the field service lighting each and every data model and each and every data object to explain. That's not the purpose. Okay. Try to get actually for this one, okay, which are the business capability that you're talking about, right? On the left-hand side, the inventory and all that. Just try to get this capability in the brain will automatically works around that one, right? If you want somebody want to circumvent on the maintenance plan, preventive maintenance plan, you will actually come up with the kind of a custom object, right, for this maintenance assets and maintenance plan, right? Just think in that terms actually. Don't go so much detail about maintenance work rule. What is the use of this object? Don't go into that level actually. That's not the right way of thinking on that one. Same goes for a CPQ, right? I that is the CPQ, right? Did I explain to you so much about this part? The price conditions, the price rule and price action, also price rule condition and all that. Because you need to able to judge this is just a gas, right? Because that is specific to the product and where this internally being used, which are not so much use of that. And of course, you need to create a pricing rule and a product rule, but these are the behind the scene, the object, texture, object, and the CPQ, right? And that requires specialized front ends that we have in the CPQ and all that kind of stuff, right? But this is kind of a gas, right, in this data model. So able to identify when you're reading something, what is a gas and what is the real stuff that you are reading out of it. That's very important for me. Yeah. Shall we go to this one? Okay, because frankly speaking, Sebastian's scenario is also kind of a heavy even for me because I was also his student, to be honest, and it's not always easy to think about actually what he thought about that particular solutioning around that one. But I was just reading, just preparation for today's stuff, just going through that one. So let's. Anybody already did the exercise of this one or read this documentation? No one?
Yes, so I think I did, and at least one colleague of mine, I think.
So did you document the solution?
Yes.
Would like to share and talk about that one?
Well, I can start with mine, and then a colleague of mine who can.
No.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's not about the judging your solution.
Yeah.
No, it is more about making it
Yeah.
interactive, right? I think that's the
Sure.
main purpose.
So I can go mine first, okay?
Yeah.
Because I already shared it in the chat. If anyone wants to take a look at it in the chat, but I will switch sharing in not right now.
No, even I can share. That's not a problem.
If you can, okay. So here it is. So this is focus on the CPQ.
Yeah, but before going into that one, anybody read the scenario before you go to solution, or might be you?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah, we
not.
did, yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So I'm expecting that everybody knows this one before he's going into the solution. But I think just on a high level, actually, I think where is the scenario? The company brief, right? So this is very interesting scenario, guys. Okay, before Patrick, you go into that one, because Seb is talking about from CPQ process to getting into the installation process, end-to-end process, right? It is hardly that you will get that in a CTRU board because Sebastian is so good actually putting the scenario. Actually, that's what he did it. Actually, it's quite interesting one. But I think the one of the important thing I just will read out at high level: the solution should handle complex pricing models, offer customization for advertising campaigns and durations, integration capability, able to integrate with the CRMs and ERP, field service, essential for managing installation, maintenance, monitoring of the advertising structures, and workforce management for dispatchers and all those. And another important thing, so solution enable ad space to enhance operational efficiency, improve customer satisfaction through quicker, moderate, accurate service, and effectively manage with extensive advertising assets. But I think one of the another important stuff, I'm going the other way around. Sorry for that one. So I need to read this one because this is very important. The ad space specializes in outdoor advertising, focusing on public bicycle rentals, one business, billboards, second business, bus stop advertising, and street furniture. Don't know what is that one. The business model involves installing and maintaining outdoor advertising structures at no cost to the city in exchange for exclusive advertising right for the structures. So basically, they are owning the advertising structures and they are actually earning a revenue on showing the ads. Approach provides a range of advertising opportunities from traditional billboards to the digital panels, kind of a different kind of a products, and strategically placed at high traffic areas. And revenue source for ad spaces from advertising themselves, with advertisers paying to display their ads in ad space assets. And the company also enable partnership with the municipalities and transit authorities to secure prime advertising location effectively. And then the solution is focusing on that one. So I will leave to you. Where is your solution? Yeah, go on better.
Yeah, so I think when I read the company debrief, it looked slightly different at the time when I read it. So I don't know if that was my overlook or a different version or it got updated. But in essence, what I did, I simplified use case just so I could focus on the CPQ features by itself. Like you mentioned, going through the documentation and then trying to list out the important features. So that's what I did. All right. So in the first section, you see the billboards and add-ons. If you just look at the configuration attributes, so to say, and then we have different features and options, and that's essentially our bundle structure. Okay, so you can already imagine quote configurator and going through these attributes. I don't know if the screen has stuck or no. Okay. So this first section pretty much focus on the objects that we discussed today, like feature, option, constraint, configuration, attributes, roles, or even a nested bundle, right? So I won't read through all of these requirements, but I pretty much try to cover all the features that are related to the bundle and different bundle configurations. All right. Any questions to this part, or are we just moving on?
Which requirement tell you that it's a bundle?
So all of this, if you just read it from top to down, you can see that this is a billboard, right? And billboard has different, I don't know, attributes and then add-ons as well. So if you would read through all of that, then and you could see that this is a bundle because, for example, you have security features, which are CPQ features where you just say yes and no, I want a built-in camera for that particular billboard. Yeah, or I want an alarm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there are some already product rules that, or sorry, option constraints that we would have, like a billboard cannot have an alarm and camera included at the same time, for example, right? So this is, I think it refers to the option constraint. Yeah, so that's the first part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in this I try to cover subscription. So there are a couple of different subscription types. There are also a concept of the multi-dimensional quotes, as well as, I don't know, percent of total pricing for subscriptions. If you just wanna, I don't know, if you wanna price your subscription like 20% of the total quote, for example. And I also try to cover these three different types of subscriptions here, even though maybe business-wise they don't make sense, like monthly cleaning service. That's probably not something that they would offer, but I think that's a good candidate for a subscription.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then this is something that was tough for me to understand. These are the usage-based products. So pretty much CPQ gives example like a phone with data card, or internet usage from, I don't know, router or something. Then I try to describe it here, but I still I lack the understanding of this particular part. I still have to do some research. So these are usage-based products with consumption schedules.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And here we get to the pricing models or pricing types. So we have different type of lighting accessories, such as OLED bulbs or whatever. And these are basically what I refer here is block price versus batch price versus contracted price, and so on. So I try to cover all the pricing logic in one specific section of the page. Okay. So there are many pricing types which Salesforce provides, like, for example, more sophisticated, like cost and markup pricing, where you want to take to the account the price that you paid for the product before you sold it. So I tried to cover all of this in here, in this section. Okay. So yeah, so now we are at the discount. And also CPQ provides many different ways of discounting. If you just could scroll a bit down, because now I don't remember which ones. Discount schedules or volume-based discounts, pricing guidance as well is a feature. Well, Salesforce would try to provide you what is the right discount for this customer. You could also have a compound discount, which is pretty complex. I think the most complex discounting type, and also target price. That's something that I still investigating and try to figure out when it's exactly used. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, special product and pricing requirements. These are essentially, I'm referring to the price and product rules. For example, systems should hide recycling services for the customers in recycling industry. So that's an example of a product rule which uses the filter logic. Yeah, and we just hide stuff from the pricing card. So just one example. But pricing and product rules, they are pretty much the same things. It's just one works with product and the other works with prices on the product. Yeah, so these are the two sections. Do you have any questions so far, or I don't know, does it make sense?
Yeah, I'm just reading it actually at the high level process.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if I'm not wrong, what you did, everything that you take it from the CPQ,
Mm-hmm.
and you try to put it actually into the context of the scenario itself, right? Kind of an expanded scenario, right? To make sure that you are covering each and every capability of the CPQ and field service, correct?
Not field service yet. That's
Yeah, no, I think it's a CPQ stuff.
it's just CPQ. Yeah, because I haven't looked at CPQ for a long time, so I didn't know what is important. So I had to look at everything because
No, I think that's fine. I think I will just tell you one thing, just to remark. Technically, you can create a nice scenario for the whole team actually out of this one, because already you are covering like a one-liner requirement technically, right? So I think just try to see if you can use this content to create your own scenario. And creating your own scenario really helps for a city report. To be honest, it took a little bit some time for me. I did 70%, 80%, and then Sebastian put something on that Milky Way. But this is very good candidate to become a create a mock scenario. Yeah, better if you want to spend a little bit time more on that one because it's containing a lot of interesting information on that one. What I will do actually for the rest of the 15 minutes. Anybody else created such kind of a documentation? No. What I will do, I will give my way of thinking when I'm reading this few lines, right? Okay, and then we can close on this one. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so I just want to give you my way of thinking so that you can also think in the same way. Uh, okay, let's go with this one. So I would go line by line, literally, and there are not so many lines, and we can cover in next 15 minutes. Should be okay. So this company is actually the ad space. What it's doing actually, focusing on bicycle rentals, billboards, bus stop advertising, and street furniture. Okay, I haven't seen in the whole scenario bicycle rentals and all that, but let's focus on billboards for now because the next sentence talks about ad space business model involving installing, maintaining outdoor advertising structure at no cost to the cities in exchange for exclusive advertising rights on this structure itself. If I connect this line, okay, and there's one more line like this one, it's kind of a connected, right? Because you need a process where the company also establishes partnership with the municipalities and transit authorities to secure prime advertising location effectively. And because this comes first and then comes this one where actually they put a advertising structure at no cost in the city, right? But you require a permission from the municipalities and all partnerships around that one. So what I was thinking, okay, you might need to, it's not a kind of a opportunity quoting process kind of a stuff, but you need to have kind of a model where actually you have an inventory of the municipalities and where you are targeting to have a new structure to be placed, right? Okay, so something need to be there around, but this is just a one-liner statement talking about, and this is not touching to the Salesforce CPQ and field service. I will just leave that one around that one. But in real scenario, if somebody really expand this one, then you need to think about also how to establish a partnership with the municipalities and having those rights to install those advertising structure. But it's not touching to the CPQs and FLS. I will not talk so much about that. So the one of the major thing I was trying to get out from this scenario, how the hell this company is earning a revenue. So it's very simple model. Okay, you put those structures, give it for a rent, and when you're giving for a rent, it means you are also possibly having the subscription model, reoccurring, renewals, and all those kind of stuff. Might be also another proposition because one of the advertising, not this one, but other customers might want to repeat that one. So its approach provides a range of advertising opportunity from traditional billboards to the digital channels. And it means, if I see this one, it means we are offering different set of products, right? Like a traditional billboards or digital stuff or something more. So that's where the different product comes in the picture, and there might be multiple variety of that. Strategic place, that's fine. Then the primary revenue source for advertisers come from advertising sales, with the advertiser paying to display their or and ad space assets. Now here you can technically take couple of adjustment. You might say that we are going to show only one ad on that ad space, one single billboard. Or if it is a digital board, technically you can show multiple company advertisements on that particular billboard, right? Because it's digital, you can put it in a different sizing and all those kind of stuff because one single billboard is still able to show that one. If you go with that second option, which I'm talking about, okay, that one digital asset showing the multiple ads, it goes in a complex production building on that. But one of the major learning lesson, guys, I want to share with you whenever you read this requirement, make your life simple. I'm going to show one advertisement on the one single billboard to solve my scenario. Okay, if somebody comes in, okay, you need to keep the answer ready, but that might be the easy because then I have, because otherwise that my whole billboard product need to be split into the multiple lines, right? The problem is that I'm selling it to the different customers, right? And then it's become very much difficult actually. They need to connect that one part that you are selling. If you break that digital billboards into multiple ones, that one part that you are trying to sell is actually connected to the one customer, but the other part is to the other customer. So you require, even if you are using a CPQ, you require some kind of additional custom object to hold that one. So make assumption, very important. that for any scenario, you always take an assumption which is compatible to you to solve the scenario. So here you take an assumption that I'm going to have one advertisement and per billboard. That makes life easy for you. Then solution should handle complex pricing models and offer customization for various advertising campaigns and durations itself, right? So first of all, the pricing models. I think we talked about tier pricing. We'd also talk about the contracting pricing that gets supported from the CPQ itself, so that can be done, and offer customization for various advertising campaigns and the durations. So it means when you talk about the product, okay, how you manage the duration, right? Because in the CPQ you do not have the duration stuff, right? Any idea, anyone, how you will manage the durations? And to make it very simple, huh? Okay, don't make a complicated scenario solution for that. Suppose you have one campaign with a 1 month and another campaign for 2 months. How you deal with that in your products?
I had different rates for different durations, and I had a daily, monthly, and daily, weekly, and monthly as price option, product options.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the right way of dealing with that one. So you might just tag a product, says, okay, it's a monthly or something like that one, put a different price on that one compared to the yearly or 6 monthly. That could have been an easy one rather than just you will end up with a little bit more product lines. That's fine, but you're solving the scenario. That's most important. I think the integration is quite easy. Once you finish that code and order process, then you can sync it to the ERP around that one and consider that you are using the same CRM, so it should be okay. The next one, the asset management, essential for managing the installation. So suppose once, this is a very interesting one, right? How you hand over from the revenue cloud process to the process of the build service. So one from a CPQ point of view, you are creating a opportunity codes and then the orders. And when the order gets starts, right? Okay, then it should have something for installation. The of course the order life cycle created and all those kind of things, fulfillment and all those kind of status and all that. So you need to have work order and work order line item, right? That's where the installation comes in picture from the field service engineer point of view. The second one, the maintenance. Uh, that maintenance might be free or paid one, okay, and that particular maintenance might also have a relationship with that order. It might not, okay, I do not know, but something that you have a maintenance plan and all those particular objects that can be used. So once that order get created, then you also have that particular, because you also have bicycle maintenance and all those kind of stuff right at the start, because it's kind of a mixed scenario. So it means you're using those particular maintenance objects and to maintain that particular maintenance schedule itself, and monitoring of the advertising structure to ensure they remain in optimal conditions, right? So it means it is part of the maintenance or reoccurring activity that is also goes in the maintenance to make sure that the field service agents work order line item get created for them to visit, right? So it also goes for me in a maintenance object, same line. And also compliant with the local regulation. Might be local regulation says city in London, okay, revisit that every 2 months or 3 months and all those kind of stuff, right? So that's where the also maintenance plan comes in the picture, but also we need to think about for local regulations. So how to, I'm not sure you require another custom object to store what that, I think it's all about interpretation of the local regulations, right? If you need to visit for a particular city in 2 months, then you need to keep that information within yourself for that custom object or by some other means. Then the workforce, I think the scheduling, dispatching, field service does out of box. Okay, so we don't need to worry about that one. I think one of the questions asked about the, with real time updates, right? That's where and mobile capability. That's where the field service mobile application that comes in. Nobody's asking over here in this scenario that it's a real time for the customer when to come and all those kind of a thing. That might be a little bit different, but might be you can think about, okay, when the things get planned, right? Okay, you might send out one email communication with the customer that your visit is planned to come on this particular time and all that, but might not be real time. It's kind of a little bit more sending the information or intimation to the customer in advance that people will come into that particular time itself. Yeah. Okay, then the last one, the solution will enable artificial to enhance operational efficiency, improve customer satisfaction through quicker and more accurate service, and effectively manage its extensive network of advertising asset itself, right? So one of the other things actually we talked about is the whole service part, right? Actually, to improve customer satisfaction. So suppose somebody's calling and all that, okay, you would have a quick work order and a work order get created. That I think one of the license actually that we talked about over here. That's the last one. Service agent and service agent manager itself. That's something we need to think about. Uh, I think the rest of the stuff is fine around that one. So this is just a high level thinking around actually, okay, not into the depth because this scenario is not talking about so much depth, but make sure that I think one of the beauty that I think everybody should admire actually in terms of Soter is about how you hand over one process to the another process. So here in this case, the order creation from the CPQ towards the field service one, right, to fulfill that one. I think one of the examples that I gave about the solar panel, right? So somebody buying the solar panel to that whole CPQ mode, and also later on that maintenance of that particular solar panel, how it get handled, right? Okay, that's very important. And also there are two flavor comes in. One is that the solar panel being sold directly to the customer or solar panel being sold via partner. And that's where the main crux of the whole CPQ field service or any other business capability to the business capability communication. So there's something that you should able to identify. Same goes for example, if you go one line above, you can also create the community user accounts and all that because people like to see their own assets and everything around that one, which is not mentioned in this scenario, but something that you can think about actually that you need to open up our access to the customer so they can see their own sites, locations, and what are the installations are there on that particular site, right? So I think that's something you also need to consider. Not mentioned in this scenario, but something to food for thoughts. Yeah. Any questions, comments from anyone? Maybe too
So
much to.
I have just one
Yeah.
very quick one, but probably there isn't a clear answer to this one, but it's always strikes me when I see ERP integration with a CPQ, and I then wonder, how about products? What if products are, let's say, mastered in ERP or some pricing system, and we want to use CPQ? Do you think of any implications there? Like, is it a no-go if products are mastered in external system, or is there a way to like have essentially both?
It's a very interesting question, okay, and there are two parts, right? Okay, if the mostly people use a CPQ to manage their product and pricing in the CPQ itself because the CPQ is meant for that one, right? And that's where the journey for setting up the products and a price will start within a CPQ itself. But if suppose the customer is insisting to have that product and pricing get mastered into their own ERP, then you need to take an assumption here that they are doing it in the right way within their own system, okay, and then you need to sync up the product and pricing, okay, into the CPQ, right? To be honest, okay, it looks a bit weird actually. Then why you are using a CPQ in the first place, right? Because everything is there in a price and product setup. Okay, I can have it in a plain, clear product and pricing tables, right, within the Salesforce, and my job is done basically on that one, right? That would be the easiest way to deal with that one. But I would say actually that even if you see the CPQ documentation of Salesforce, it talks about make CPQ as your master for the price and products. If you or at least for the price at least, okay, minimum, okay, it's not product because of product you also might have a PIM, product information management system that is being used, but for price, okay, make that because that's where the whole CPQ comes in, right? Actually, which talks about product quotations and everything around that one. So to answer your question, you are right. There is no right and wrong answer. You can, if the customer want to maintain in a ERP, that's fine. But then sync it in the CPQ and rest of the code process, you can actually have it on the CPQ. Nothing wrong with that one. But you are limiting yourself with the CPQ capability in terms of the product configuration and price configuration in that case. Then you are only using for a quote process potentially around that one. Nothing more than that one. So I would also question, what is the use of CPQ in that context, right? That's a different story altogether, right? But mostly the ERP being used for the whole financial stuff and the supply chain management that I talked about previously.
No, so it was a question that comes from real life and not from a CTA mock. Like we had in my old company, we had a customer that actually wanted to have everything in ERP, but purchased CPQ and wanted to have a CPQ implementation. So
Yeah.
now you have this conflict of interest because everything is in the ERP along with the pricing, but they won't have configuration and you use CPQ for that. But that doesn't work with ERP configuration, right? And you can just sync it on the fly. So yeah, okay, thank you. I think I get the point.
Yeah. Anyone?
I had a quick question on CPQ in terms of I've done much CPQ at all in the past, and I was looking at how to use product options. I haven't used them before. I've never seen on the diagrams I've seen for CPQ. I don't see people referring to a price book entry. Is the product option and price book entry kind of interchangeable? Is the product option the CPQ version of price book entry? I'm just curious as to what the difference is.
Yeah, so the product option, I can give an example. This yeah, the product option is not a pricing object, it's the product object, to be honest, and it's talk about the relationship between the product itself. And I think one of the biggest use case of that one, if you buy, for an example, let me think about vacuum cleaner, for an example. Okay, and there are suppose 10 accessories for that particular vacuum cleaner. And if you select the and which are purchasable add-on basically, then which other product options are available for you to buy next to that particular vacuum cleaner model itself, right? And that's where the product option comes in the picture. So it again the product option, if you see this particular object and if I have a product object, that's the product object, okay. And if I see the lines, so both the product options is one-to-many relationship. One product can have multiple product options, but I think this particular object I also need to check in a data model, schema model, is that also it's connected again back to the product itself, because that product option that you are talking about is nothing but the product itself, right? And I do have a one scenario in which I use that product option. I will share that one afterwards. Actually, maybe later today. I think it's the universal property where I think I use the product option in the combination of the product to show the number of product options available for that particular product. But the product option, Barry, also come from the product itself. Okay.
Right. So if I had and take a very simple example of the ad space thing, if I had billboards of different sizes and I'm selling them for prices, and let's say I'm multi-currency, the size of the billboard, that will be just a product.
Yeah.
The product option would tell me what billboards would kind of fit together. If I have, let's say, 2 spaces on a bus shelter, the product option will be you have to buy both, maybe. But the price book entry is what controls the price.
Yeah.
Still
and
the same as regular sales cloud.
Yeah, you are right. And that particular price book entry connected to the always the product, not to the product options, but the product that you are using from a product option will have a separate pricing line on that.
Should we say last bit again?
Yeah. So price book always connected to the product.
Yeah.
Okay. Product option tell you which is another compatible product that you can use next to the primary product.
Okay.
Okay. And that second product that you are adding always having their own price book entry for that.
Right. Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're bringing both price book entries in, but the product option is telling you you should have this with this. Okay. I get you. Okay.
Yeah. That's the way you need to see it.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we are almost top of the hour. Any more question? I'm happy to stay for some period of time, but let me know. I know I kind of it's overall all kind of information, but I think this is also a very important topic that in terms of understanding it's very important because most of the people get lost in the CPQ and field service writing. So what I would suggest you to, because the topic is very hot in your brain, just read a little bit more and conclude from a CTA profession point of view. You really want to go for a CPQ or FLS or not, and don't open that Pandora box again. That would be my request.
I had one more question, Vinay, that I
Yeah.
couldn't find the answer to. Maybe you won't know it. Is can an external user, a contractor who's an experienced-led user, can they use the FSL mobile app? I think they can, but I couldn't see a confirmation anywhere. I assume they can.
To be honest, I think that Salesforce laws in terms of the licensing stays that you are buying the licenses for your employees of your company plus the outsourcing company employees or contractor employees. Right.
Okay.
So, for an example, if you are buying a sales cloud or the CPQ, you are buying it for your own employees or the people who are contracted, maybe
Right.
freelancers
Okay.
and all those kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
I think they have a definition of calling customer, partner, and employee. Okay, so it need to fit into that one. Technically, if you ask me, okay, can the customer community licenses can be used for employee? Answer is yes, but they will not allow it, right? That's a different story.
Yeah, that's why I assumed so. I just didn't find confirmation. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Vinay, one last question what I had was like, does Salesforce CPQ offer any sort of location multiplier? Like if Billboard was a product, right, without
Hmm.
any specific location, and if I have a base price to it, right, and if I were to sell that billboard at a high traffic location versus a medium traffic versus a low traffic location, right? Can I just have add a multiplier for that price? Is that something that is available out of the box, Vinay?
I do not know, but I would strongly suggest, okay, that one billboard consider as the one product to be sold. Okay, as part of it. Okay, don't make things complex of reusing and all those kind of stuff. Okay, just keep that. That's the biggest learning lesson actually from my city reports and all that. Make life simple for you actually. Okay,
Got
so
it.
one billboard, one selling commodity. That's all. Okay, don't create a product for that one. Okay, might be a product location of that one in a London city center, for example, next to the what's that big Piccadilly Circus. Okay, that's fine. For me, that's the one board. That's all. Nothing else.
Okay. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I think Patrick mentioned that FSL is an add-on to the Service Cloud. Okay, I would say must have a Service Cloud license, uh, not CC. Uh, you are right. It's not a CC license actually, but I think FSL add-on to the Service Cloud. Yeah, plus I would say you must have a Service Cloud license. Yeah, you should have a Service Cloud license for that one, and I think. Just have a look at it actually. This is very nice product actually. It's a skill service integration with Service Cloud. This one kind of a small integration stuff actually. Okay, which I read during my. I think I need to put Salesforce. Yeah, just have a look at it actually. There is one connector actually that you get it between the. I'm not sure if you have done the. Okay, let me do this one. 1 second. Have to make it bigger. Okay. Mm, yeah. So I think this is very nice. Another diagram, okay, which I personally use. What are the connectivity between the different clouds, right? It's part of a B2B solution architecture, to be honest. We don't need to do the certification, okay? But it's talk about how the revenue cloud actually, the code and all that also connected to the service contract, right? Because once you create this kind of a stuff, it's also having a link into the service contract, and there is one product actually which actually connects to that one. So I'm not sure it mentioned on the right hand side. B2B commerce, no. B2B commerce, no. Experience cloud, no. Revenue cloud, service cloud, full service license. Yeah. So this is the one actually the scenario that gets mentioned. The customer requests a quote involving the product requiring installation, sells the team compare detailed quote with the pricing and sends the customer for approval. Customer accept the quote. Sales team convert a quote to the order. Service Cloud for CPQ package creates a service contract record in the Service Cloud based upon accepted quote. A series of contract line items associated with the customer based upon product sold within quote. So basically, it's about maintenance schedules and basically creating a service contract, and from there on, actually, you can have a maintenance plans and all that, everything it created. Right? Something to keep in mind. Okay, I will also share this board link to you guys. Okay, it's quite interesting. For me, I'm big kind of a favorite of Mr. Mark Ken. He's also done this. He's also having his own App Exchange products. And it's a very guy with a lot of high level stuff actually. Not so much detail, but high level stuff. It suits to my way of working, so I personally like it a lot. Yeah. So use this one. Okay. There's also something like free service to the Revenue Cloud for anti-break fix. All those scenario. Don't go into technical detail. To be honest, think about the business scenario that is trying to capture. Okay, that's very important. Okay, and I'm not necessarily that saying that okay, you need to use the full service CPQ, but just think about a scenario that comes in. The more scenario that you get acquainted, the better you will be better prepared for the city. Okay. Any last question, if you have any?
No questions. Thank you very much, Vinay, for today. I still feel like I need to watch the recording again with and make it a bit slower. So yeah, but thank you. It was a lot of information packed in this 2 hours. It was great. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, actually, I was a bit quite fast because I need to cover a lot of ground actually, because I would strongly suggest a CPQ for 2 hours is enough, but I have to cover through actually, which is quite challenging even for me and also for you guys to put everything into the brain. It's quite challenging actually to watch. But I think if this is the stuff that it can really help you to quickly jumpstart CPQ and FLS stuff and get it off from your reading radar, or to reduce some of your few weeks of timing into the few days. I think that's the main idea for me. Get things in your brain to provide a right resource to help you on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, guys, and have a nice weekend ahead.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Vinay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You
Bye.
too. Thank you.
Format
Bye.
today.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.